Thank you. Tell me, who is this person here in the red shirt?
That is my mommy.
If you passed Sister Blessing on a Sunday morning, children's ministry badge on her blouse, her husband's hand in hers, the smile she gives everyone who greets her, you would not see anything except a woman who has found her way. And you would be right. She had found her way. The problem, and this is the thing she could not say to anyone for 19 years, is that something had followed her on the road. Blessing Ego grew up in Warri, the third of 5 children in a family that was loud and loving and not always careful about who came in and out of its spaces. She was a bright child, curious, the kind of girl who asked questions adults weren't ready for and remembered the answers to questions nobody else thought to ask. This was the life Blessing had built, carefully, deliberately, with the particular intentionality of a woman who knows what her life looked like before and has decided every day that it will not look like that again. At 19, she had been delivered. She had given God the pattern and the pull and the 4 years of a self she barely recognised, and God had taken it. She had 14 years of clean living, genuine faith, and a good marriage to prove that the deliverance was real. What she did not know, what she would not understand until she was 33, was that the deliverance had addressed the fruit, but the root was still in the ground. It began with dreams, not dramatic ones. No fire, no clear faces, no voices she could quote. Just a feeling she woke up with. The feeling of having been somewhere she did not choose to go, and of having left something there, or of something having come back with her. The dreams came 3 times in the first month, then more frequently. She began waking at the same time, 3:17 a.m., with a precision that started to feel intentional. She prayed each time, read her Bible, worshipped quietly so as not to wake a Mecca. The dreams would subside for a week, then return.
What is it? What are you saying that I'm not saying?
She had not invited it. She never invited it. But it came anyway. The specific quality of attention that she recognised from her early 20s. The kind that found her in rooms she was simply trying to exist in. A parent at the school. A colleague's friend at a birthday gathering. A man at the petrol station who held her gaze 3 seconds past ordinary. She was doing nothing. She was wearing nothing provocative. She was simply present, and something about her presence was sending a signal she was not choosing to send. Then the dreams became specific. She began seeing a face, not clearly, never clearly enough to fully describe, but recognisable. The face of someone from before, from the time before the deliverance, from the part of her life she had sealed and filed and chosen never to return to. The face was not threatening in the dream. That was what disturbed her most. It was simply present, waiting, as if it had been there the entire 14 years and was only now making itself visible.
Mommy, I want to ask you something and I need you to answer me honestly, Victor. When you used to come and stay with us, Swin, was there ever anything that Swin? Did anyone ever notice anything?
She hung up before her mother could ask again. She sat in the car for 22 minutes. Then she drove home and made dinner and helped Emeka fix a shelf that had been loose for 2 weeks and watched the news and went to bed. And at 3:17 a.m, the face was there again. She had been to Pastor Linda's office before, but she had never gone like this. She had never sat down across that desk and felt what she felt when she sat down this particular Tuesday morning. That she was either going to say the thing she had never said, or she was going to lose something she could not afford to lose. She said the name. Then she said what happened. And the room held. The ceiling stayed. The walls stayed. Pastor Linda's face stayed. Not fixed into professional neutrality, but genuinely present. The face of a woman absorbing something without flinching. When Blessing finished, there was a silence. Then Pastor Linda said, "Thank you for trusting me with that. Now let's close it properly." What followed was not a dramatic exorcism. It was not a prayer line with falling and trembling. It was 3 Tuesday mornings in a small church office with 2 cups of tea and a Bible and a woman who had been trained to close doors properly.
On the morning of the second session, the session Emeka did not know was coming, Pastor Linda made 2 cups of tea before anyone arrived. Not 3, 2. She had been in this work long enough to know that the 3rd cup was not needed yet. The 3rd cup would come when the work between the first 2 was done. Emeka Adeniyi came to that office the way he came to most things. Simply. No performance, no armour. Just a man in a navy polo shirt who his wife had called the night before and said, "I need you to come with me tomorrow. There is something I need to say, and I need you to be there when I say it." He had not asked what. He had said, "What time?" That is the kind of man Emeka was. He sat down beside Blessing, in the second chair, not reaching for her hand yet, not performing support, just present. Close enough that she could feel him there if she needed to. Far enough that she had the room to do what she had come to do. He looked at Pastor Linda. Pastor Linda looked at him. She said, "Thank you for coming." He said, "Of course." 2 sentences. The whole marriage in 2 sentences. She set both cups on the desk. She opened her Bible to no particular page. She sat down. And she waited.
He did not run. That was the thing she had been most afraid of, that the telling would cost her the marriage that the thing itself had not. He did not run. He held her hand through the rest of the session, and on the drive home he said only, "I wish you hadn't carried that alone." And she understood that he meant it exactly as he said it. The prayer was specific. That is the word Blessing would use later when she described it to her prayer partner. She said, "It was specific in a way I didn't know prayer could be specific." Pastor Linda named what had happened. She named the door it had opened. She named what had walked through that door. She named Victor. Not with anger, not with a curse, but with the particular authority of someone handing a person's name back to God from whom it was taken. She declared the door closed. She declared the ground beneath Blessing's feet sanctified, going back to the moment of that violation. She declared every attachment that had used that open door, every face in the dream, every uninvited attention, every 3:17 a.m, evicted. By name, by the blood, by the authority of a specific saviour over a specific wound. And then she did something Blessing did not expect. She prayed for Victor. Not a comfortable prayer, not a simple one, but a real one. That whatever had operated through him would be dealt with by God in God's own way. And that the chain that had moved through that family holiday and through 19 years of Blessing's life would end. In Victor's life also, in whoever Victor had become. Blessing wept through this part. She could not have explained why, except that it was the most complete thing she had ever heard. The prayer that did not stop at her freedom, but went all the way back to the beginning and addressed everything it found there.
The night after the third session, Blessing went to bed at 10 o'clock. She did not lie awake. She did not wait for 3:17 a.m. She slept. And in the morning, when she woke, she lay still for a moment, testing the air of the room, the way you test the temperature of water before stepping in. The room was just a room. Her husband was asleep beside her. The Lagos morning was beginning outside. Generator winding down, the first bird, a neighbour's gate. She was simply in her life, present, unattached to anything that was not hers. She got up, made tea, sat at the kitchen table, the same table where she had sat in the dark after the first dream, holding her own hands. This time, the light was on. The attention did not immediately stop coming. She had not expected it to. Pastor Linda had told her, closing the door does not immediately change every person who had already mapped their way to it. But something had changed in Blessing. She was no longer confused by it. She was no longer frightened by what she might be signalling. She knew now what she was carrying and what she was not, and that clarity was its own protection.
Blessing and Emeka Adeni still live in Gabada. She still leads the children's ministry, the children who have not yet been told what the world will ask of them. She sleeps through the night. The face in the dream has not returned. She told us one more thing before we finished filming. She said, "The morning after the third session, I called my mother. I told her what happened with Victor. She was silent for a long time. Then she said, 'I knew something happened. I didn't know how to ask. I'm sorry I didn't ask.' And Blessing said to her mother, 'You can ask now.' And they talked for 2 hours. And that conversation, the one that happened 14 years after it should have happened, that was also part of the healing. Freedom is rarely a single moment. It is a series of doors. And God, it turns out, is willing to go through every single one of them with you. If this story touched something in you, please share it with someone who needs to see it today. Subscribe to Voices of Faith Africa for real African stories of transformation through faith every week. And if you are carrying something you have never named, we want you to know there is a room and a person and a God who is not afraid of what is in it. You do not have to manage this alone. Drop your testimony in the comments. Your story could be the next one that sets someone free.